Congratulations on the brand new album. It is an absolutely sensational album.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that it resonates.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about how you put together this album, because this is an absolute masterpiece. So how did you go about putting together this amazing album?
Well, I guess in a way it kind of continues where the Runaljóð trilogy left off, in a way. But of course that was a piece that took me 15 years to finish, and it was very much pre-decided from the get-go what the thematics of it. It was about giving voice to each of the runes, and so even though the new album kind of continues basically, well, a lot of my music, or all my music, is very much about animism and different relations and concepts within animism, how we view nature, each other, and something that is bigger than yourself. And the new album definitely does that as well, but I would say it kind of zooms in more into specifics. It's more direct and gets closer into certain concepts, and but I don't know. It's very much nature based. Very much perhaps goes more into human perspectives or old ideas and concepts on how we define ourselves as humans in these older ways of viewing it, and kind of, well, kind of also. I would say if it kind of promotes a view that I have myself, or this idea that perhaps it would benefit us all if we had a little bit more animistic view on the world. What I mean by that is I kind of believe and experience that the second we took sacredness out of nature and put it up in the sky, or totally disregarded it altogether, things became problematic, and we got on the wrong track. Of course, this happened a very long time ago, but so if my I don't like preaching or serving truths to my audience, but if the album kind of is political in any way, or preaching in any way, it kind of subtly does that.
Definitely.
Throughout the thematics in such a manner.
Do you think the events of 2020 has caused humanity to kind of reconnect with nature a little bit more? One of the things that we've seen here in Victoria, because we had 7 months of lockdown, is that nature and humanity are interacting a lot more. And even today, as I watched the news, they talked about the fact that a peregrine falcon came down today and landed amongst people like she was a pet, and she wasn't. And we've even noticed that in our local area that some of the magpies and the kangaroos have become more accustomed to having people around because there's been less people around. Do you think that's something that the entire world has seen, and that connection with nature has started to reset a little bit?
Well, I certainly hope so, and I think that might be the case for some area, and certainly for some people, that it kind of puts things in perspective and kind of reminds us that we can't push things too far. We already have pushed things too far, and the fact that we can't control everything around us is perhaps sinking in with at least some people. But for some, it just means more Netflix and watching series. Sadly, but I do hope that it has added a perspective on things. It's sorely needed.
Definitely. We've been playing your new single, White Raven, on our show a lot recently, and a lot of people have fallen in love with the track. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what White Raven is about, and a little bit about that symbolism that comes from sacred white animals found in the Nordic history.
Well, we can begin with the white animals, and it's in fact quite a global thing. You see this in many cultures around the planet. So white ravens is one thing, but you have white reindeer, white mooses, elephants, or white lions. These sacred white animals have been regarded as well, something somewhat prophetic, like representing rebirth or often something new. They are seen as kind of a ghostly creature that moves between the realms of the living and the dead. So they have this godly connection in a sense. They are also used in folk medicine or sorcery, in divination, like a messenger of some sort, and that is something that has fascinated me a lot. And also on a personal note, I have a very strong, almost totemic relationship to the raven itself as well, which and the raven has definitely a very special place in the Nordic tradition, both within myth, but also in different areas of the culture, and in a way seen as the animal embodiment, in a way, of the human mind and the memory, described in one of the Old Norse myths as well, through being Odin's ravens, called Hugin and Munin, mind and memory. So raven is sort of a recurring theme on the album as well. And their role in as being almost like a totem for the Norse, in a sense.
Yeah.
It also describes the song also describes a different tradition with it's hard to describe because it's quite a complicated concept. It's called fylgja. It basically means a follower, which in modern terms you can almost call it like a spirit animal or an animal guide or guardian that people have or are believed to have, and so the song kind of goes into that tradition as well, how you seek up these things and what that relation is. So it kind of discusses seeking knowledge both externally and internally in different ways.
Yeah, it is an absolutely sensational song. And one of the things that really hits me with this album is that you were able to work with such a group of traditional singers, including Kirsten, of course, who is a really important custodian of Norwegian traditional song. Tell us a little bit about what it was like working with that group of singers and how you went about hand selecting which singers you wanted to work with as well.
Kirsten is she's a true pillar within the preservation and communication and of these the oldest song traditions we have in Norway, and kind of a living legend in that sense. And I had the opportunity to meet her. I also know her daughter, which is also one of the singers. And when I started to work on this song, I really could. I just heard that kind of singing and their voices in it. So I thought, what the heck, why not ask? So I contacted Sigrid, which is her daughter, and asked if she would be up for gathering a group of singers for this piece. And they were really excited about it as well, and gathered a group of 4 very prominent singers from the traditional music scene in Norway for this song, and along with Lindy Hella, our regular singer, of course. And I don't know, it's for me it's important to have these kind of to give voice to that part of the tradition. Is something that means a lot to me. It's remembering. It's there's so much of this really old knowledge that we see now is basically dying.
Yeah.
That generation is almost the last ones that knows a lot about these things. So giving voice to it and giving attention to it is something that I find very meaningful. So it has a lot of layers to it, why I think it's important.
Are there plans to educate people more about it in Norway as well? Because I know here in Australia at the moment, our government is spending a lot of money on being able to hand down Indigenous culture to the next generation of Australians so that it doesn't die out. Is there a plan there to actually keep that voice going?
Yeah, there is, and of course, a lot of these people are also doing a really good job on collecting material, documenting it, and also bringing it on to the next generation. I do feel there is a change, not only with this, but also in terms of how we teach our children about the Norse history. Because, like, when I grew up, it was really poorly handled in a way. You were taught these things in a way that made it impossible to take serious. It was so oversimplified and stereotype. Wrong, basically, and with this massive interest that we see now, like globally for Norse history, it's the positive effect it has had here in Norway is that it sort of forced ourselves to take it more serious as well.
Yeah,
it's not only the subcultures and the special people like me who have an interest for it anymore. It's growing, and that's really good to see. It makes me hopeful.
Definitely. A show that you've been a very big part of, Vikings, is that something that has helped that interest come back into that Norse history as well?
Yeah, I definitely think that well, it's something we saw happening before Vikings also, but of course that TV show was such a global success and definitely a catalyst to make it grow even bigger and so I definitely think there has been had a positive effect on this.
Definitely. The other way too, of course, of that voice being spread is through the instruments on the album, and there is such. I'm looking at a list right now of the instruments that you used on this album. Things like a goat horn, a sooth harp. Tell us a little bit about how you discover new instruments that you want to use for the albums, but then also how do you go about finding people that can play those instruments?
Well, when I started this this work, well, around 20 years ago now, at that point there were very few people who knew anything about at least the most of these instruments, and fewer people that knew how to build them still. So at that point I was kind of on my own and was forced to either build it myself or have somebody build it for me, in certain cases at least. So it's been a lot of a process of a lot of trial and error. Of course, I made a lot of shitty instruments before figuring it out. But of course, nowadays the interest for this part of our history has just exploded, especially like the last five years or so. So there are more and more people doing this kind of work and building them again. It's not only the handful of pillars carrying the load.
Yep.
So that's a positive thing. But of course, at that point, it was a lot of visiting museums, reading archaeological reports, and talking to instrument builders. Yeah, a lot of work into very obscure and forgotten matters.
Definitely, yeah. I know. It's been my dream the last couple of years to learn how to play the Hurdy Gurdy, and it has been absolutely impossible to find anybody in Australia that can teach me. So, yeah, I know. I understand completely how difficult that is.
Yeah. No, you just have to give it a go, I guess.
Yeah.
Hurdy Gurdy. That's the first. It's an instrument that's pretty intuitive, as long as you learn how to tune it.
Definitely. Well, it has been an absolute honor chatting to you, and I know our time is nearly up. So I was wondering, to finish off, is there anything you would like to say to people out there before they sit down and take a listen to this sensational new album?
Well, only that I really hope that we are able to visit that part of the world, and Australia and New Zealand, and it's there has been some attempts several times, and it is something we're working on. So when the world hopefully soon goes back to some form of normality, I definitely hope that we're going to start working on coming down there to do some concerts in Australia. Would be fantastic.
That would be absolutely amazing, and I'd be right there in the front row.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. It has been an absolute honor, and hopefully we do get to see you in Australia sometime soon.
Hope so.
Definitely. All right, I'll let you go. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.